A Perth housing surge. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from ABC discussing the WA real estate outlook for 2021 and a housing surge in Perth. Now, we all remember the discussions around Mandurah, particularly from Martin North and John Adams, when they were just looking at that suburb and the significant level of housing stress. I've referred many times to this chart here showing just the high level of people in arrears back in 2019 in Western Australia and Northern Territory, particularly compared to the rest of the state. Now, with their lockdowns, Western Australia is a big iron ore state. And I'll just bring up, just 1 second, I'll just bring up a Google Earth to emphasize how large an iron ore state Western Australia is. We're the largest iron ore exporter in the world, everyone. Australia is. Now, I live on the eastern side of Australia, over in Brisbane, and, well, let's say we're the coal part of the country, over here, but Western Australia, it's iron ore. Now, you can see here I have Google Earth open, and I've got operating mines in Australia in 2014 from the Australian Mines Atlas. Now, obviously, some of those have changed in the 6 years since this data was produced, but it still is, useful to give us an idea. So what we'll do is we'll scroll down here and we'll have a look at iron ore. Look at all those appear in Western Australia, guys. So you've got a whole lot of people, going from Perth down here. Where is it? Oops. Yeah, down from Perth. And they're flying all around the regions for a lot of the mining work. Now, with the hard border closures, a lot of people have stayed over here. They brought their families over here. And, well, they've needed somewhere to rent. So there's been pressure on the rental markets. Plus, the WA government has just gone insane with their incentives to get people buying into housing. Like, it's crazy the amount of money they're chucking at people to get into housing. And you've also even got, up to $50,000 in discounts for foreigners investing in housing. So, yeah, guys, it's crazy over there. So let's have a look. So blink and you'll miss it. As Stephen McVeigh made the jump into property investment this year, houses were moving fast. You'd wait your turn, have a quick look around, you'd go home and think about it, and you'd come back and it's gone, he said. Mr. McVeigh and his wife want to self-fund their retirement and started looking into property as interest rates dropped. Now, this is the thing, everyone. Here in Australia, everyone looks into property. Property is where everyone goes to. So much of our wealth is tied up into property. Property is used as a way to mitigate taxes for a lot of people. You can't blame them for taking advantage of it. It makes a lot of sense. So many people are negative gearing. But then that creates a bubble in that asset because more people want to buy it. More money the money supply is driven through property, so that inflates the cost of it. And there's demand for these assets to mitigate your taxes that we're paying. So it's quite messy, really. It's this self-perpetuating bubble. And now we've got, well, there's no political will to address it. They're just throwing more band-aid solutions at it, like money and grants and things like this, which just exacerbates the problems in the long run. I'm hoping more and more people will start to realize that. But the biggest issue is, our country here, where we've got all these, mines all over the country. Where Australia is a natural resource-rich nation, but we're not a very economically complex nation. We're actually quite primitive when it comes to what we produce here. Everything is shipped overseas. I'll bring up another chart, everyone. I'll bring up another one just to show you, well, live shipping data. So it's quite easy to see how much is just shipping out of Australia. And one of my favorite websites, the Observatory of Economic Complexity, once this loads up in a moment, you can see Australia is ranked 73rd in the world for our complexity. And that's to do with what we're exporting. And you can see here we're exporting coal, iron ore, gold. Not that advanced. So let's jump back here. So they were not the only ones trying to snap up a bargain, with property prices across Perth selling in November at the fastest rate since 2006. And this is the thing, we're having the first recession in 28 years. And the government just throws money to housing. So they're just chucking everything at this sector, and they're creating a bubble. They settled on a place in Hall's Head near their own Mandurah home. He who hesitates is lost, he said. I mean, this is the thing with property. You've got all your money tied up into your property as well that you own, your own house, and then you want your savings and your retirement to also be dependent on property. It's like those university lecturers. Remember, we were looking at this last year. That all their money was tied up in the university sector because, well, their super was from university and all their personal investments was in student accommodation, and their main source of income was in the university sector. So they're diversified in revenue streams, but you could almost say like they just vertically focused on the same sector. And now when international students died, the demand for university courses reduced significantly, and the demand for their investment properties reduced as well. So it doesn't seem like the diversity that we need. So we could be up for another 20 to 30,000 next year, so we took the chance of jumping in before the Christmas period. So the outer suburbs are driving the biggest house value increase. 3 Mandurah suburbs, One Up, Lakelands, and Dudley Park feature in CoreLogic list of the greatest 12-month change in value for houses in Greater Perth. It's a turnaround from earlier this year when the region saw higher falls in property prices with the onset of the pandemic than anywhere else in Australia. So we're still going to have as many people under mortgage stress, or as many people that are at risk there. People were selling with negative equity over there a year ago. Market values were down 2.2% from March to May, with dwelling values 38% below their 2006 peak. 3 Mandurah suburbs are on Perth's list of the greatest. Yeah, we can see there. Local real estate agent Frank Lawrence said the area was coming off a very low base. Mandurah has been undervalued for a long time, Mr. Lawrence said. I think when you look at a market like Mandurah that's low in supply, but really, is it low in supply? Okay, we'll look at that. You know what? Let me just bring up realestate.com.au and we will look at. And if I'm pronouncing this suburb wrong, guys, you'll let me know in the comments. Western Australia. Okay, I mean, Australia is not a very old country. Even though they've removed the word young from our national anthem, which, is just, frankly, a sign of weakness on behalf of our Prime Minister. Anyway, we're barely a couple hundred years old, guys, really. We only federated in 1901. Australia's not an old country. And there's already weird, odd dialects over on this part of the country. It's probably all the South Africans going over to Perth, changing their culture there. That's what it has to be. At least they've got some good sausage. Anyway, let's have a look at this area here, and we will go to the map. Remember, low supply. They just said low supply in the article. Okay, and we'll go here to filter, and we'll clear all. Let's just go in houses. Are we talking about low supply here, everyone? Does this look like low supply? What do we have here? Offers invited, 1.6 million, 200 grand, 200,000 for a little 3-bedder. I mean, there's not a little bricky, nothing wrong with this. It's perfectly fine. 200 grand. Maybe I should move to Perth. But I mean, there are some social issues with this area. Unemployment is pretty high. Last I checked, and there were, but then again, looks fine. 200 grand, guys. So, do you think we have low supply, everyone? Last bid, 377, 249,000, 209,000, 299,000, 295,000, 229,000. So, what's going on here? Why do we have low supply? 455, 435. So you're getting the more expensive properties here. You get something, under 300 grand, everyone. 275,000. Let's go to CommBank loan calculator. We'll just go here, just for the sake of it, guys. 275. What are we talking about here? Your interest and repayments would be 235 a week. What about 209? Can you even borrow that little? 179 a week. Let's have a look. You know what we'll do? We'll go back. And we'll look at renting. and renting. We'll go here for the map. Now this is where there's... Look at that. Look at that, guys. That's insane. 275 a week. 500 a week. 330 a week. Has it just not loaded up? 210. So you could buy a house here right now with the interest rates for less than the rental costs. So we'll look here. This is houses for sale. And this is everything for rent. I haven't filtered it. Well, this is where the shortage is. The shortage is in rentals. Look at this difference, guys. You know, so for something for 180 bucks a week, you could buy something cheaper than you could rent it. What's going on? Where's the low? Is he talking low supply in rent? So let's have a look. I think when you look at a market like Mandurah, that's low in supply but high in demand, then you'll see an increase in prices follow, and we're already starting to see that slight increase. Are we? Okay, sure. I'm not in real estate. I'm just a simple architect. You know, we're finding the turnaround time can be anything between 2 to 14 days before the property sells. A big turnaround from this time last year. In the unit market, Broom's Cable Beach has seen the biggest 12-month change in value, up to 22.3%. Broom. Okay, let's jump over here. And let's show everyone where Broom is, guys. Where Broom, okay? Broom, WA. There we go. There's Broome, the fantastic, epicenter of the world right here. I mean, there's the airport, guys. To give you a bit of a feel, let's just, can we do Google Earth? We can. Let's have a look here. I mean, there you go. It's Broome. The red dirt will get everywhere. That's the problem up there. I mean, you got nice big blocks. But it's a mining town, literally on the edge of the world. I mean, if we jump here to, you can see Broome right here. There you go. You know, it's a big port, everyone. You get stuff coming and going. More down here, Port Hedland. Okay. We'll jump back. So units in Broome, you'd be buying just for temporary accommodation for mining people. I know we looked at a modular hotel out at Port Hedland back in the day. Everyone wanted to make their fortune. I guess, you know, Broome. So units in the redeveloping inner suburbs of Perth have also recorded a boost in value, with Mount Pleasant, Ascot, and Burstwood. Yeah, but they're like, you're comparing. See, this is the thing. The scale of Australia. You know, 1 second they're talking up Broome, and the next second they're talking up inner city Perth suburbs. It's just so big growth in green fields and infill. Mr. Lawrence said the rush for land once COVID-19 building incentives were announced was enormous. We act for a land developer at Mandurah Bay. We typically sell between 70 and 80 blocks of land a year. We sold almost a year's supply in June when the federal and state government's stimuluses were announced. There we go. That's the government juicing up these markets, guys. It's crazy. They're just chucking so much money at it. And we're seeing the candle-on effect in property here. But how are we at low supply? We just looked at Mandurah. We're probably at low rental supply. So you could buy a place for 175, 180 a week and then rent it out. Would people rent there? Why aren't the people doing that if they can? You know what it is. You know what it is, guys. Are all these people that are selling, are they in negative equity? They're trying to get out. Is that what it is? So, Housing Industry Forecast Group Chair Kath Hart said the grants blew the doors off the industry. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. People in the industry like it. You know, they think, fantastic, more work. You talk to some people in the construction game, they're flat out. But it's not natural, guys. That's the problem. It's just government pouring fuel onto the property fire. And in the end, we all pay for it in the long run. Everyone feels good. You know, you're a property genius. You happen to buy at the right time and it just ran up. But there's no skill in that. It's luck, guys. Okay, trust me. I've taken it. You know, my house has gone up in value too. It's been nothing through any effort. It's just bloody luck. So when we went from a historic low to a historical high, basically overnight, yeah, that's not normal, everyone. That's a bubble. There was a 211% increase in new home sales from May to June, which is simply extraordinary, she said. That's the problem, guys. This overheats the market. We saw just the number of apartments that were being pushed out in Sydney. And now we're seeing the ramifications with all these defective buildings everywhere because the market was overheating. We're seeing a lot of activity in the greenfield areas, but we're also seeing really interesting activity in some of the infill areas. Places like the city of Stirling, which we think is ball over activity. People had a home, they owned the block, and they thought, this is a really great opportunity. I can build my new home and take advantage of these grants. The Housing Industry Association's heat map shows a flurry of house sales in Swan and Wanneroo in the North Metro area, Armidale, Coburn and Rockingham in the South Metro area, and Bustleton regionally. So investors are still missing in action. Yeah, this is the thing. It's not the investors getting in. It's home buyers. Despite the low rental vacancy rates, REIWA reported a 0.8% in November, equaling the lowest rate ever recorded. The historically low interest rates, experts say investors like Mr. McVeigh are in the minority. Latest financial figures show a lot of owner-occupiers coming through, but not as many in the investor space, Ms. Hart said. The forecasting group called out concerns about a lack of housing stock heading into 2021, particularly with the end of the moratorium on evictions coming up in March. So, we're watching it closely because that was one of the key issues we called out because we're quite concerned about what might happen after those measures end, she said. In total, 18,500 new dwellings are forecast to start in 2021, a big uptick from 13,500 in 1920, but still falling behind the long-term average of 22,000. Eliza Owen, CoreLogic's head of research for Australia, said she expected the continued growth in the market to create a rebound in investment activity. Rents across Perth were up 8% over the year to November, and that's just a huge increase relative to other capital cities and relative to historic growth rates in Perth, she said. That's probably going to entice more investors into the market. So a flurry of new builds are causing delays. This is the problem. This is overheating the market here, guys. Oh boy, I really hope we don't have the perfect storm of insolvent businesses and government stimulus overheating everything. That's what scares me. That's like the perfect storm coming together. Ms. Hart said 2021 was set to see a lot more titled land coming into the market, which would help ease one of the issues stemming from the building incentives. What we saw was a couple of key pinch points: a shortage of titled land, shortage of labour, and potential delays with processing from lenders and local government. So, build times are still set to be longer than usual. Ms. Hart estimates around 8 weeks extra continuing throughout 2021 to 22. We're still seeing some pinch points around labour. Obviously, the challenges around borders continue to pose issues for people coming into WA to work, but the industry is getting organised, she said. They've just got to sequence the work and do what they can. Ms. Hart said some of the glut had been smoothed out by the state government announcing a longer period to begin building in order to qualify for a grant, while contracts still need to be signed by December 31. Site works now have a year to commence. So 2021 is looking largely positive for buyers. Experts are upbeat about overall 2021 property market in WA overall. We're expecting this to be a positive year with good activity in the established market and the new build sector, Ms. Hart said. Ms. Owen said the market's interrupted recovery was on the up again after early shutdowns from the pandemic, but warned it might not be smooth sailing. It seems pretty clear that Western Australian property markets are coming into an upswing, but that could be disrupted by resurgence in cases in COVID-19, as well as disruptions to the mining sector, which could occur out of trade tensions with China. It just depends on how these sorts of deals are navigated in the year ahead. So there we have it, everyone. Remember, apparently there's low supply. What do you reckon? As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. Support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, and AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.